forcing yourself to be more secure when you're anxiously attached is totally unrealistic. And here's what to do instead. Hi, I'm Amy and welcome back to my channel. I'm a certified attachment style coach and I help anxious attachers break the cycle of avoidant and emotionally unavailable partners so that you can really thrive in your independence and prevent future heartbreak. Before I start, I have a 6-week self-study course available in my bio. It is the exact blueprint of how I healed my anxious attachment and became more secure. And if you're interested in one-on-one coaching, the link is in there too. But let's get started on the video. And I often hear advice that's given to anxious attachers of to, even if you don't feel secure, act like it. And it's sort of like fake it till you make it kind of thing. And even though I've done this myself, you guys, and I have really acted like I'm the most secure person in the world in a relationship, especially at the beginning, trying to act like nothing bothers me, trying to act secure and confident when I really wasn't. I mean, underneath the surface it was horrible. I was completely consumed by anxiety. And the issue with this advice is that yes, you might be able to keep this up temporarily, but eventually it is going to come out in some way or another. Maybe in a conflict, for example. Maybe you test your partner to see how committed they are to you, and there are these little things that anxious attachers engage in to try and see what someone's commitment level is, and it all boils down to the anxious attacher's fear of abandonment. And whilst this isn't your fault, you guys, what we don't want to do is go into the territory of testing our partners to test whether they're going to leave us or not. Because number one, it's not really a fair gauge of whether this person is going to leave you or not. You can't really predict that a lot of the time. And also, it's not fair to your partners either. What we want to do is go into relationships knowing exactly who we are, feeling secure in ourselves, not really being afraid of being left or abandoned. And we also want to stop abandoning ourselves for the relationship as well. So first of all, I want to clarify that you guys do need to give yourself some slack, because you did not have the upbringing that a secure person had. So you're already going into the arena of relationships on the back foot. You are behind. Your attachment system was developed in such a way that you are not on the level of a secure attacher when you go into relationships to begin with. So because of that, you're kind of learning in your adulthood how to be secure, which feels at first to be unnatural, but you can get there. But we don't want to do it in a way that is, I'm going to act a certain way so that I can keep this relationship. So, if I act more secure, maybe they won't leave me. We don't want to go in with that, because it causes so much internal conflict that, like I said before, sooner or later, the jig is going to be up. The mask's going to come off, because you cannot hide this for an extended period of time. You can temporarily, but not for an extended period of time. So what do we do instead? First of all, I want you to accept that I am anxiously attached. I am uncomfortable in relationships. I am fearful in relationships. When I go into a relationship, I look for ways that my partner is going to leave me. I imagine ways that my partner is going to leave me. We want to really get familiar with our anxious attached self. And what that means is looking at the patterns that are already present. And, go to town, you guys. There is no shame in anxious attachment. There is, this attachment style you didn't volunteer for. You didn't, think, oh, I would really like to be anxious attached in my relationships because that sounds like fun, because it's not fun. And, it's actually a really, really horrible experience being anxiously attached in a relationship. Why would anyone volunteer for that? I certainly didn't like it. So what we want to do is look at what our patterns are. Do you test your partner? Be honest about it. Do you look for ways your partner's going to leave you? Do you imagine ways that your partner is going to leave you. Do you keep tabs on your partner? Do you overly communicate with your partner? All of these things, and again, there's no judgment, I've done them all, but we want to get really familiar with what patterns are present at the moment and also where they're coming from, because these patterns and these defense mechanisms are the subconscious mind's way to protect us from being abandoned, but it's actually counterintuitive because these things actually push somebody away. So if you imagine you were with somebody who was constantly raising suspicion, for example, you wouldn't want to stay with that person. You wouldn't want to be with somebody who was testing you all the time. You just wouldn't. You'd like to think that your partner trusted you. So we can see how these so-called defense mechanisms that you've picked up over time to protect yourself from the pain of abandonment are actually counterintuitive. So the second thing we want to do is accept that these things don't work. That, regardless of if all these things are in place, number one, we can still get abandoned, and number two, you might be making it more likely that you'll be abandoned, and it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what do we do instead? Acting secure, we've established, does not work in the long term. So what we want to do is really go into healing that fear of abandonment. And how do we do this? Because, you've had this fear of abandonment for as long as you can remember. So how is it that you can really change this belief and not feel so uncomfortable in relationships to the degree that these defense mechanisms are being triggered and you're using them? So what I want to do is remind you that you cannot stop somebody from abandoning you. You can spot red flags, you can vet people, but ultimately you cannot stop somebody from leaving you. But what you can do is you can stop abandoning yourself for people that are not committed to you. You can stop abandoning yourself for toxic relationships. You can stop abandoning yourself to, people please and fit the needs of other people. And this is really the crux of what you're doing, because this fear of abandonment, as a child, the fear of abandonment is completely reasonable, because if we were abandoned as children, you might not have survived. You were relying on your caregivers for survival, but you're an adult now and you will survive without a relationship. And even though, yes, being abandoned sucks, yes, someone leaving you sucks, you will survive it because you're an adult now. You can take care of yourself. And even though you might not like it, nobody likes it, secure people don't like it, but if we know that we won't abandon ourselves, it certainly softens the blow. So we're not dealing with, so if it is that, we don't have this fear of abandonment, that we know that we're not going to abandon ourselves and someone leaves us, we're just dealing with that. We're not dealing with the childhood trauma that comes along with it, which makes it really difficult to move on. And I have helped tons of people the world over with this problem. And the first thing I always tell people to do is, what one thing can you do today that's just for you? What thing can you do today that is purely for you? Because what you're going to do is you're going to start planting the seed in the mind, in the subconscious, that you are worthy of being chosen, that you are the priority. So in the morning, for example, instead of getting up straight away and checking the phone to see if your ex has texted, you're not going to do that. You're going to go and have a healthy breakfast first and check your phone after. So it's these slight things that are going to feed the mind. So you're working with the belief system of I am abandoned, I will be abandoned, I am rejected, and all those painful beliefs. You're dealing with it on a belief level, because you are going to start being there for yourself. You're going to start reminding yourself that you will survive without this relationship. And instead of acting secure, what you're going to do is start to choose yourself and treat yourself like a priority. Instead of thinking, well, I know that I'm checking my phone, I know that I'm checking to see if my ex has texted me, but I'm going to pretend that I'm not. I'm not going to tell anybody that that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to act like really secure, like I don't care. When you do care, you might very much care that your ex hasn't contacted you, and that's perfectly okay. But what we want to do is take the priority level of that down a notch and start to prioritize yourself over that. So it isn't that we're getting rid of this desire for the ex. It isn't that we're particularly getting rid of this desire to keep checking the phone. What we're doing is we're slowly breaking that pattern down. And before you know it, even if you do it 1% a day, you guys, in 3 months, you're going to be completely different. You're going to feel completely different, because if you can commit to this, if you can commit to choosing and prioritizing yourself every single day, you are not going to be prioritizing somebody else, because your nervous system is going to get used to the feeling of being chosen and prioritized, because you're giving yourself that when you are not chosen and prioritized, it sort of becomes repulsive. It becomes something that doesn't even register with you. It becomes something that you think, no, that kind of gives me the ick, because you are rewiring your entire nervous system to become familiar with being chosen and prioritized. So the next time someone shows up, if they don't prioritize you or choose you, that's going to ring off alarm bells, because you are now a person that is chosen and prioritized. Whereas before, it was normal for you. It didn't register, it didn't raise alarm bells for you, because it was just normal and something that you settle for, even though you might not have liked it. So I hope that video helps. If it did and you like this content, please consider subscribing to this channel. I'm Amy, and it's an absolute pleasure to help you improve your self-worth.